Comrades, welcome to our Pan-African Reading Club. We have been reading the book Defeating Dictator by Dr. George Aiti, and we were looking at various sections of this. We look at the financial control, we look at the battlefield, we look at the military, dictatorship, and all this. So today, we are going to see how do you have a strategy to outsmart a dictator on the ballot? How do you ensure electoral victory? And this is as per Dr. George Aiti. Dr. George Aiti thinks that it is possible to defeat dictators, or what he calls despots, whatever you want to call them, on the ballot. Something that I know majority of us don't believe. But let's read and hear what Dr. Aiti has in mind. So welcome once again to comrades who have joined us so far. And to those who will be joining us, to those who will be watching our session, feel most welcome. And we appreciate your presence, your company, your time, and even the data you use for this session. So to members who are present, permit me to know if there's anybody who will be willing to read for us the paragraphs, starting from the word ensuring electoral victory. Permit me also to recognize the presence of General Nunaki, Brother Coco, Sister Grace, Brother Seshaba, One Map Africa, and Sawindo. So welcome once again, and anybody who is willing to read, please proceed. Anybody willing to read for us, please, once again?
Let me have a go. One paragraph. Okay, ensuring...
Yes, Sister Grace, go ahead.
Ensuring electoral victory. To win an election, an opposition party must know the electoral rules and processes. There are many aspects of the electoral process that are designed to ensure that the process is fair, free, and transparent. Fairness requires that all parties have equal access to the resources and airwaves and the opportunity to deliver their messages. Free means that everybody who desires to participate in the election process can do so without fear, intimidation, or obstruction. Transparency requires that the entire process be free from fraud, that the voters' register is clean. Ballot boxes are not stuffed, votes are not counted in secret, and so forth. An electoral commission should be set up to oversee this process. It should be obvious that such a commission must be independent. Independence requires that opposition appointees or nominees be represented on the commission, and that the commissioner be approved by the opposition parties. In short, the following rules must be agreed to before an election. And the points are: opposition supporters must be allowed to register to vote. The electoral register shall be up to date and clean and contain no ghost entries, names of dead people, fictitious names, etc. The electoral commissioner shall be independent. Political parties shall have equal access to the state media and be free to campaign. Ballot papers shall arrive at the polling station on time. There shall be no heavy security forces or militiamen at the polling stations. There shall be no campaigning at the polling stations. No legal voter should be prevented from voting. Ballot boxes shall be transparent to ensure that they are not stuffed before voting. Ballot counting shall be done at each polling station in the presence of representatives of all political parties. The result shall be sent to the central tally station and posted at each polling station. Overall national results shall be announced within a reasonable amount of time. An independent and impartial court shall exist to adjudicate electoral disputes. All opposite party leaders must be asked by the media whether or not they agree to the rules. If they object to the rules, then they should not take part in the elections, as participation implies acceptance. There is no point in taking part in an election and then later claiming that the rules were unfair. It must be remembered that it takes an alliance or a coalition of opposition parties to oust an entrenched despot from power. No single individual party can do it. If an alliance is put together, the alliance presidential candidate should not be the leader of any of the constituent parties. And if he wins, the election must be made to serve only one term in the office. If the rules, sorry, I'm laughing because this is exactly what happened in Malawi. Anyway, if the rules are unfair and the playing fields are not level, all opposition parties must boycott the elections. A situation in which some decide to participate while others choose to boycott must be avoided. Uncertainty helps the despot and impedes the cause for freedom. At least 6 months before the election, certain targets should be identified. Certain targets should be identified and softened. If he is going to steal an election, the despot needs to have the electoral commissioner in his pocket. If he is going to crush street protests, he needs to police and or the army chief to put them down. Thus, the key officers the despot needs are in order of importance: the electoral commissioner, the police, the chief, the army chief, the chief justice, and the minister of information, and the head of the civil service. Where am I? Civil service. Where am I?
Just proceed with the opposition alliance. Just continue like that. The opposition alliance.
Can you point that to me? I can't see it. No? Okay. The opposition alliance should demand that each of these officers be replaced before an election. Amass 10,000 protesters to occupy the Electoral Commission and demand that the commissioner be replaced because his impartiality is in doubt. Next, work on the police chief and so on. Then action may not by themselves win the support of auxiliary institutions. But they will put these institutions on notice that their activities are being watched and thus prompt them to act more professionally. Can somebody take over, please?
Can somebody help Sister Chisomo to proceed with this?
You've enlarged it now, so maybe that's okay. Yeah, professional. Okay. It is clear that action is required on many fronts to defeat a despot. One individual or party alone cannot do this. There is a need for a body, which I have called the Elders Council, to coordinate all these activities and to ensure that opposition parties do not work at cross purposes. It is always important for the proposition to be imaginative. What has been enunciated here are general principles, specific strategies, and must be crafted to fit different situations in different countries.
That is the end of chapter 7. So we'll be going to chapter 8 on reversals on revolution and how we can avoid reversals in the revolution. So let's go back and look at the last chapter, the last subheading on chapter 7. How do you ensure that you have electoral victory against the despot? So we've had all these principles that must be agreed on. I'd like us also to share our thinking whether they are applicable, that the opposition should be allowed to register as voters. To me, I'll talk later. I am a presidential aspirant. Some of you know that. I was in the previous election and I witnessed some of these things. So I'll give my case example, and then we'll go back just to look at this. Members will be allowed to share their thinking. Now, in the year 2022, I was to register a political party in Kenya that I started registering in 2019. I got a provisional certificate of the party during the COVID period, and resources were not enough for me to fully have the party ready for the electoral process. Because in Kenya here, you go through two processes. The first process is to ensure that you get the name of the party, they call it name search. You get the symbol of the party, you go to the constitution of the party, you get to the nomination election rules of the party, you get to the executive of the party, then you go to the national intelligence for vetting and verification. Your party get gazetted, then you pay, I think, $1,000 or less than $1,000. The second process is that you register around 24,000 people across the country. In our 24 counties, we have 47. You open offices, then now you can be given a full certificate at around $3,000 or $4,000 as well. Now that is the stage I'm back to now, and I'm hoping that the party accountability and transparency part that I lead will be able to finish that by June, so that we as a party can be able to then present myself as the presidential candidate or any other person who wish to run for that election. Now, come 2022, the experience we had in that election is that...
PG,
yes, can you hear me?
do you require only 4,000 voters countrywide?
No, you require, for a political party to be registered in Kenya, you require 24,000 registered voters countrywide to be registered members of your party.
Oh, okay.
What it means, we have 47 counties in the country. So you get at least 2,000, at least 1,000 per majority county, which means out of 47, 24 counties is majority. So you get 1,000 each as a political party. That's the step. So we did in the year of election, the political parties need to do what you call party primaries, 6 months to election. Now that happened every February of the year of election. Because in our country, the constitution is very clear that election must be held on the second Tuesday. I think it's very clear on the second Tuesday on the 5th year. On the second Tuesday, August of the 5th year. So you cannot even change the day. You cannot even change. When it is the second Tuesday of that month, that's the way the election should be held after 5 years. That's what is clearly in our constitution of our country. So the president does not have the power to choose when the election can be conducted. Now, because my party could not qualify, so I went as an independent candidate. For the president, in the category I was in, I was 26 years old. So in my country, the constitution allows anybody who is above the age 18, which means anybody who is qualified to be a registered voter is also allowed and is qualified to run for any political position. So you're not discriminated when it comes to political position you can go for. As long as you are qualified to be a voter, you're qualified to run for any position. Now, the presidential aspirants were only required to take the forms. You see those? Now, there's two categories here. Now, when you have a party, it's 24,000. But when you are a presidential aspirant, you are required to have 48,000 people supporting your candidature. 48,000 people, which means in every 24 counties, you need to get 2,000 people. So I was given forms for presidency, which are 100,000 spaces. So I could fill up to 100,000 people. Now, remember, for the presidency, you are given the form on April, and the election is taking place on August. So 4 months to election. Then you're given 1 month to ensure that you have those 48,000 people. Now we did that. Some of us did that. So I did that, but it was very technical. So 1 week to us being qualified. So you are getting the forms on April, then you get to be qualified by the Electoral Commission on May, towards June. Now at that particular moment, a week to the day we are supposed to present back these forms, the Electoral Commission says that those signatures you have collected as presidential aspirants must have photocopies of IDs of anybody who has signed. Now remember, these forms, these forms that we went out to collect the signatures did not have a space for the contact, and did not even specify a space for that you need to have a copy. Now you have collected the forms. How are you going to get the contact of these people who went in the villages and signed for you, so that you can have the photocopies of their IDs? How are you going to work in the village where there's no electricity to photocopy IDs of individuals, where there's no even electricity? Second thing, the Electoral Commission have photocopies of every individual registered voters. The question we asked them, in Kenya we were 57 aspirants, 57. So we asked them, if 57 aspirants each could present 40,000 signatures, do you have a room even to contain those hard copy documents? Because those over 2 million documents. Do you have even a space where you can keep 2 million photocopies plus 2 million forms? Now they told us they don't care. If you don't have that, you are disqualified. And that's how I was disqualified in the last minute. Now, some people whom we never even had were aspirants, or they were never known in the country, were announced that they were qualified to be on the ballot. Loud people who were known to have been even in the ballot before, some were billionaires, were disqualified and never appeared even on the ballot. So even the process of deciding who will be on the ballot was already crafted by the state, so that you have people who can make the competition be favorable. What Dr. Eti is saying here, that if the rules are unfair, all of you should boycott. But here there were a group of people who were planted to be on the ballot just to make the ballot as a process. What happened in Tanzania when Madam Suluhu decided to arrest the opposition leader and then lined up 17 people to appear that there was a competition? You see? Now, we complained about this on the month of July. Remember, that's now 1 month to election. The court says that the requirement for you to produce photocopies of IDs was unconstitutional. July, 1 month to election, which means the process of qualifying those who were qualified to be on the ballot was unconstitutional, which means legally there was no aspirant, a candidate. Now what happens? The Electoral Commission goes to the court to request that they be given a stay order, because election is closely happening. They cannot postpone an election. And the court grant them that access. Then election is conducted. Then we said to the opposition party that it is very clear that the rules have already been changed. The voter register that is being talked about here was never cleaned. The chairperson of the Electoral Commission who chaired the elections of 2017 that were disqualified by the court was the same chairperson to sit in the next election, as Dr. Eti is saying here. The commissioners were almost the same, never changed. The voter registration was not even sufficient. There was no voter audit. The ballot boxes were secured from a country, I don't know, in Venezuela. Was it, there's a country, I don't know it was, which country? It's not Venezuela actually. There was a country that procured for us the ballot boxes. And it was believed that one of the politicians gave that tender. Like now, it's already believed that there's one person from Zimbabwe who might actually print the ballot boxes in this election for the Kenya because it's very close to the status. Now, we had a press briefing. As a young man, I told the fellow aspirants that because this election is already unfair, we should boycott even voting, advise the citizen not to vote because the election is already compromised. And we called upon the opposition party to also boycott the election. But Raila Odinga, being who he was, and he knew he was having the government by his side, he knew he would win. So he decided to go for the election. And he was defeated. He said that William Ruto stole. Then he told him, no, if you decided to go to election, when you said it was wrong, accept it. And that's what Haiti is saying here. If you decide to accept the rules as unfair they are, then you should also accept the results. If you think the rules are not right, why do you participate? So that is what happened in 2022. Something that I'm very cautious now when I'm trying to plan for my 2027, that I rather first of all focus on qualifying to be on the ballot before even go around and start doing the campaigns. Because no matter how much crowds you have, no matter how long you do your campaigns, if you're not on the ballot, that's useless. So that's what I wanted to share briefly as a practical experience of what Dr. Eti is saying here, as what I experienced around 3 or 4 years ago when I was running for the presidency of the country. Now the floor is open for members to share their thinking as well in what Dr. Eti is saying. Anybody want to go first?
Just to add to yours, Brother Begin. In the same process of trying to register our political party, and your rules are basically the same as ours. They differ, but not so much. Now, what happened last elections last year, we had the same problem of collecting registered voters. So we went to our friends who have already registered, asked their forms, yeah, please help us. We are also trying to register. And once we have submitted those names, all those forms were defective. This one, the number is this one, the signature is this one's address is this. But the other political parties have used the very same forms and they got accepted. So cheating and rigging is everywhere in the Electoral Commission. Just imagine Brother Pigeon has used these voters. He got registered. You go and get those registered voters from him. When it comes to you, they told you, no, this one is dead already. This one, the signature is not his. This such a big story. So as opposition, we have to have people in the Electoral Commission who will be monitoring the proceedings and the conducting of elections. In the absence of that, it will be an uphill battle, just like it has been all the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Sawindok. Anybody else want to go next? Who want to go next? Brother Ifo, please go ahead, Brother Ifo. Welcome, Brother Ifo.
Thank you. My apologies for being late, but I work for the colonizers in Canada and I was at work. Don't judge me. I just wanted to I missed a little bit of it, but I wanted to just share something about a party in Nigeria called MOP, Movement of the People. And the government, when they realized that there was mass support for the party, because it was started by Fela Kuti, they just decided to make the party illegal. So they didn't have to worry about if the party is illegal, then you can't register the party, and if you can't register the party, then they cannot appear on the ballot. So I'm wondering, in the context of, say, Kenya, for example, is there a possibility of something like that happening, and what could be done to prevent that from happening? Because we know how twisted some of these people that are in power can be. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Ifo. I'll just respond briefly. Now, in Kenya, it's possible. Like now, where we are, my party is I've struggled registering this party for the last 6 years. In fact, it's going to not even 6 now, 7 years, because I decided to pause a bit when I was going for the election in 2022, then decided to pick it back later. Now, where we are almost like 1.5, almost 1 year to election. Now, it is very possible, and I'm seeing that possibility, that they might block even our party being fully registered. But we are at a very advanced stage. because I'm just required to mobilize some few resources to finish the mass registration, which I'm hoping I can finish by the month of May. And what happens in the Kenya, the registration process of members to your party is automated. So if you join my party, I'll see your number increasing in my party portal. So there's no way somebody can take my number away, you see? And I'm doing it for myself. So once I meet the 24,000, once I clocked in, the system detects automatically. Now that one, I'm moving on. We are almost at 4,000 people out of 20,000. The key issue has been resources a bit because it's also expensive. Trying to recruit people to go around the country, asking people maybe join my party. People say, no, what are you giving us to join your party? You see that desperation because other parties have told them to do that. So you go to a place, they want you to buy them sugar or buy them whatever for them to join your party. You say you want to be a clean party, you rarely get people. So after we are done with this process of mass registration, we'll just go to open party offices. Now there is where they can bring some trick. They can either say your office does not meet the parameter, but the law is also very clear on what qualifies to be an office, the size, the seating arrangement. So it's very clear. Just that the process is very tedious, especially in the mass registration. So for example, in the last 4 years now, there are only around 3 or 4 parties that have been fully registered out of over hundreds of parties that want to be registered. So the government can decide to block a party at that stage, but it's very hard for a party that has qualified to get a name to be declared unconstitutional or illegal. It's very hard because it's the office of the government that gives you a go ahead to be given a name of the party. So when you get a name already of the party, it's very hard for you to be declared unconstitutional. That's not possible to happen in Kenya. Hope that is helpful.
Yes, it was. Thank you.
Sister Grace, can you share with us what happened in Malawi? Sister Grace.
Oh, I tell you, I read this book and I'm thinking, I think every politician in Malawi has it. So we had a situation exactly as they say here. You cannot defeat the current, you have to go into alliance. And that's what they did. So 9 parties against 1 party. And again, there were a lot of fiddling and a lot of fiddling. Like the chapter says, you have to get the courts, the justice, the chiefs, the whatever. So they sorted all that out. And they were on the side of the alliance, which was the opposition. And they were just fast-tracking laws upon laws, upon laws, upon laws to make what they're doing legitimate. And because of the way they did it, now we accept that it was what we term as a soft coup. It wasn't really winning as in winning. So anyway, that then happens. So as the also chapter says that the person, it does say the person who wins must be independent. Did I read that right? Must be independent, meaning, does that mean must not be one of the party leaders? Help me with that one. What did it say? Must not be the party leader, must be independent.
Sister Grace, it said that it must be remembered that it takes an alliance or a coalition of opposition party to oust an entrenched despot from power. No single individual or party can do that. If an alliance is put together, the alliance presidential candidate should not be the leader of any of the constituent parties.
That
and
bit
if
there.
he wins, if he wins the election, must be made to serve for 1 term in office.
That's the bit that then went wrong, because once they've got all these people behind them and doing demonstrations and blah blah against this other party that they feel they can't defeat and will win, and they go into an alliance of 9 parties. So now, they didn't tell the public who was going to be the leader until last minute. So last minute, we then hear that one of the leaders to the parties is the one who is going to be the president. So on the ballot was this guy, Chakwera, the one who's just gone. Chakwera becomes the leader who goes on the ballot and not the other 9, right? And remember, it's an alliance, not a coalition. It's an alliance formed before the elections. So this guy, then they do the elections. They say they've won. So this guy becomes the what? The president of the country. 1 year down the line or somewhere there, the one who was actually very active and leading in all these arrangements became the vice president. So he becomes the vice president, and then they start, for some reason, they start arguing before they've even started. And this guy keeps coming out into public and saying, oh, they're not fulfilling the promises. The promise and the promise, the promise and the promise. We don't know what they agreed, because he was saying the 2 of them agreed that one will lead the first term and this vice president will lead the second term. So I suppose they were taking this principle here that whoever wins doesn't do 2 terms but 1. So it seems that's what they had agreed. One does first term, the other one does the second term. I suppose they're assuming they'll win again the second term. Right. So whilst all that is going on, this vice president, he's getting indications that they won't let him run. So he's making a lot of noise outside, making a lot of noise about it outside. We don't know what they're arguing about, but we keep hearing him complaining. If you want to kill me, you can kill me. They want to kill me. They've been following me, blah, blah, blah. And then in one meeting, one of the people from the ruling party, because at the end of the day, this was the guy that was on the ballot party. When they win, effectively and technically, the president whose party, the party whose president has won becomes the ruling party, not all 9, because it's not legally binding in the first place. So this party and their leader just ignored the rest of them, the 8, and became the ruling party, and they led as such. The alliance fell apart immediately because these people put themselves in position that they are now the ruling party, despite that they won because there were 9 parties. So our vice president is complaining and complaining and complaining and raising so many issues. And that's how we lost him. They killed him off. That's how we lost the vice president over this term and that term and this term and that term. So eventually we hold another election. Then it started with what they're saying about the commissioner. The opposition is saying the oppositioner is compromised because he is the daughter. I don't know if you guys ever heard of John Tembo, who was Kamuzu's right-hand man. This party that became the ruling party is the party that President Kamuzu Banda was. So they've never won elections since we had independence, because Kamuzu only became the president because we got independence. Obviously, there are no elections. And after that, he makes himself the life president. So we didn't have any elections for 30 years until we held referendum to have multi-party. So they've been in opposition ever since Kamuzu died. So they then had this strategy to then say, okay, we're going to do an alliance, blah, 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 to get rid of the other people, the other guy. So we do now elections, and they're saying, no, this commissioner is the daughter to John Tembo. He was John Tembo, the right-hand man. We can't have her as a commissioner. She just said, I'm not moving. In the end, they couldn't get rid of her, and the elections were held. But the guy that was defeated in 2020, then says he's not doing any alliance. He's going to go it alone. If he fails, he fails. If he wins, he wins. If people want me for real, because people are now saying, we want him back because this guy has messed up so much, and we've even lost the vice president over it. There was so much corruption, so many things going wrong. People just suffering. And what politicians don't understand is when they're doing that, as ordinary people, it affects us so much. It affects our mental health. That they don't get. All you will hear is so-and-so has committed suicide. So many suicides going on because there's so many problems and people are not coping. But anyway, so the elections are then being held and people are saying, we want the old man back. And when they were campaigning in 2020, they were using the fact that this guy is old. We want young people. We want this and that, only to find the young people have messed up so much. And they're saying, we want the old man. So their campaign this time is he's too old. He can't even walk. He can't get out of the house. He can't do anything. And people are saying, we don't care. Even if he's on a wheelchair, even if he's in deathbed, we're still going to vote for him. And that's what happened. He won with a landslide with no alliance. Even the opposition voted for him. So he came back in power. So what they're saying here is exactly what happened. So now I understand why the term issue was in dispute, because the rule says only one term, which the politicians never told us that bit. And also the agreement, these two kept saying they had an agreement, the two of them, which didn't involve the rest of the parties or anybody else, because it was a gentleman's agreement. He couldn't bring out the evidence to say, this is what we agreed, this is the written document. And the other party said, we don't remember agreeing anything, because everything was, and he tried to say, oh, but the clergy was involved, the church was involved, this was involved, the lawyers were involved. Nobody could come forward to say, yes, that's what the agreement was. In the end, these people went ahead, finished the 5 term and lost. So now this new guy is now in power. And I don't know if he's going to sort things out, because things went completely wrong beyond repair. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Chisomo. That was a very extensive elaboration of what practically went on in Malawi. Now let's hear other members what they think about this, whether it has happened in your country or not. Let me check which hand was up, because I'm seeing another hand is coming up. Oh, Brother Window, please go ahead. And then I want to hear from General what happened in South Africa. Was it almost the same? Brother Coco can share with us. Brother Sashao is also here. Let's hear what you think about what this paragraph is saying. Sawindok, briefly, then I can go to General. Sawindok?
Maybe two. All the parties that have taken government after another party, were they all alliances or coalitions? Georgia Haiti is telling us, if you don't go the alliance way, you will not make it. Do you also believe in that, Brother Pigeon? Why is he giving that assurance?
Brother Window.
And number 3, they say, in case, yes.
No, you can proceed fast, then I'll answer. Sorry, finish. Just finish fast.
Yeah. In case of an allowance, the alliance presidential candidate should not be the leader of any of the constituent parties. Now, who must be this presidential candidate? Is it the Secretary Generals, or is it the Vice President, or you pick somebody neutral?
Sawindok, can you hear me? Because I can't hear Sawindok.
Yes, I can.
He's
I can
finished
hear you, but
questioning.
I said I have stopped
Okay.
there.
I'll try to respond briefly. You remember previously Dr. Eti gave us scenarios where there were 17 candidates on the ballot. Do you remember?
Yes.
No.
Sawindok? Do you remember when he said that for you to win a
Yes,
dictator?
I can hear you, bro.
Do you remember?
You are breaking.
I'm asking, do you remember sometimes back when you were reading this book where Dr.
Brother,
Eti gave us examples of how, can you hear me? Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, we
yes,
can
please.
hear you.
Yes, please.
Now I'm saying, do we remember that there were some times when Dr. Eti told us that examples of countries that were having over 20 aspirants, 19 aspirants against the despot, and he was giving us the calculation that if you have those many aspirants, it's very possible for a despot to go back in power. Do you remember that part really?
No.
Yes,
No,
I do.
there's somewhere about that. I'm trying to go back if I can get it. The element that Dr. Eti was trying to say here is that if you have to defeat the despot, the opposition must have one candidate. Because now, let me read here. You can see my screen now.
Mm-hmm.
It says, no matter how despised a tyrant, he always has some support base. There have been too many cases in which despots have won elections because the opposition votes were split. In Kenya, in December 1997 election, the opposition party numbered 26, and they fielded 13 presidential candidates to challenge the incumbent, Daniel Torotich Arap Moi, who won. In Kenya, we were, for example, 57 aspirants. Of course, there was no incumbent. Do you think how easy was that to be? In Zambia, in December 27, 2001 presidential election, the candidate of the ruling party, MMD, Levi Mwanawasa, won just with 29% of the votes. There were 10 opposition candidates. In Ethiopia, in May 2010 election, 92% opposition parties challenged the despotic regime of Meles Zenawi. In Belarus, in 2010 election, there were 9 opposition candidates. Then Dr. Eti says, to defeat a tyrant electronically, a coalition of opposition parties must only electoral. That name will be confusing me.
Electorally,
the opposition parties must field only one presidential candidate. If a coalition president is chosen, he or she should be restricted to serve only one term in office. Are you remembering that? Now that is now linking to what you are asking now, Sawindo. Now can you link the two? Now, the second element on why it must not be a leader of any of the parties, I don't know why, but I can see the sense of what Dr. Yates is trying to create here. If all of us agree that you have a common enemy, then why don't you get a neutral person and all of us back? Because each party will be saying, we are the majority party, we are of this tribe, we are of this leadership, we are whatever. But if you want to bring us together and you're saying, that's why Dr. Yates is proposing the Council of Elders. If the Council of Elders can sit down and help the opposition parties to craft a candidate that then can be acceptable by all, which basically means must not be the leader of any, it's very possible for that candidate to get the majority support of other parties. That is just what I'm thinking on the questions you've asked, Sawindo. But anybody else can attempt to answer that.
Can I just comment a little on?
Yes, and I want to hear what other like Sheshao has and General Naki. Go ahead, Sister Chisomo first.
Yeah, you see where you just read about these countries. And then it says, is it Zimbabwe or something that says somebody won with 29%? So what
Yeah,
they did
there
in
was 21%.
Malawi, yeah. So what they did in Malawi, because of the same thing, splitting votes and stuff, and they knew that this guy was going to come back because every time they stood, he's always won. Like I said, the other party has never won any single election. So they brought in these alliances. But then on top of the alliance, they then passed a law to say, like I said, they've now bought all the judges and all the chiefs and all the clergies and all whoever. And so on top of all that, they then passed a law that says what we've been doing all along since independence was wrong. The right way to win is by 50+1, not majority. They then said it was wrong interpretation that majority is whoever has more votes. Majority means 50+1. So in their mind, this guy cannot on his own get 50+1 because they still fear that even with the alliance, the chances are that he's going to win because people will be, no, this is not fair, this is not fair. So they said 50+1. So this guy then won by 50+6 or something like that, and then made the winner. But it didn't work this time around. And there was no coalition. Nobody wanted coalition after what happened last time. Nobody went into coalition with anybody. Thank you.
Thank you. General Nonaki, what do you think in the paragraph you've read? And what happened in South Africa? It was a very interesting scenario. General Nonaki, hope you can be able to share with us that South African case in regards to what is being talked about here. General?
Yes, give the answer, not said. Really, I have no comment right now, to be honest. I was just listening more.
Okay. Brother Coco can be maybe in a better position to help with that South African scenario. Brother Coco, or any other thing you want to share, Brother Coco? Brother Coco? Okay. Let's get then to Brother Sershaba. Brother Sershaba, are you able to share your thinking on this that you've heard so far? Brother Sershaba, can you hear me?
There's a message from Brother Coco.
Yeah, I've read the message from Brother Coco. He's requesting Brother Sershaba to speak. Brother Sershaba, are you in a position to share with us what happened in South Africa in regards to this context of what you're reading here? Okay. Brother Philip, can you share with us what happened in Ghana? Or this text in relation to anything in...
Sorry, I had to step out. I just came back, so I'm just listening to you.
It's okay. Now, anybody want to come in? Oh, and you can proceed fast, Brother Philip. Finish fast.
No, I'm sorry. There was something I had to leave the meeting, and I just got back. So I've not been following the thread.
Can I just say something?
Briefly, Sister Chisomo.
Yeah, when Brother Windhoek says who becomes the leader, that's almost impossible. Because who do you choose amongst the 9? Everybody wants their leader to be the president. And then to bring in an independent person who didn't fight or come up fight for this arrangement, that would be almost impossible unless you bring somebody from the army, perhaps, which means you'd have to bring in somebody from the army to stand in, just like maybe, I don't know how Burkina Faso did it for Traore to come about. So you'd bring in somebody from the army. I think when we were moving from the to multi-party system, they did bring in the army to take control. So that would be almost impossible. And then in my country, when they changed the law to 50+1, come these elections, they wanted to change it back to the original majority rule. And this president said, no, let's stick it at 50+1 because I know I'm going to win. And he won with a landslide. So we are still at 50+1 at the moment. Thank you.
Sawindo, go ahead.
Yes, brother Pigeon. The question of who will be the leader of the alliance is very critical. And I agree with Sister Chisomo that you cannot bring in somebody who has not fought for anything. But then, Sister Grace, do you bring in the army to become the leader of the alliance, or you bring the army in to do what?
Well, if
Sorry
the
to ask that
rule, I
direct
don't know if
question.
it's a rule or just a guide that says the person should be there for one term. Then this army person comes in for one term until you have another election to bring in somebody else legitimately. To bring in somebody else legitimately. That's what I would say.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. And Brother Pigeon, one more thing. Seriously, if the leader of these alliances does not come from the aligning parties, I don't know what's the point. And as to who should become the leader of that alliance, I mean, the qualities in you, Brother PJ, should be speaking for themselves. You are youthful, you have been fighting, you've been among the agencies and these things. So why can't you become the opposition? I mean, the leader. Our problem is we are not serious in trying to defeat the despot. If we were really serious, we would be able to identify from a mile away that Brother Coco will be the ideal person to lead this coalition, whether he's from a minority party, whether he's from middle-sized party, or whether he's from the big opposition party. This guy has got the qualities, and everybody should be able to see that. And Brother Pigeon, do we go in there as presidential aspirants, or do we go in there to this? If we are not strong enough to take that government, let us not go in.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, we are going in there to hope to form alliances, and only then, like myself, my aim is not to become opposition. My aim is to take over government. Why should I go and hope for an alliance? That's just but general. Thank you. But obviously, an alliance before it becomes an alliance, you look for synergies and you come to common ground before you form an alliance. So these synergies are supposed to have guided you already, that we are going to go into an alliance and our likely leader will be that one. You do not form an alliance, and then from there you start looking around. Now, who can be our leader now? That's a joke. Thank you. I don't think if I'm making sense.
Now, Brother Windhoek, thank you for what you are raising. You are forgetting a bit the paragraph we read some days back. Can you see where my screen is pointing? On the servers for props of the despotic regime. That the paragraph says, a despot thinks tactically. He sets a goal, identify an obstacle, and set out to destroy it. The obstacle to the despot is the opposition. Then he sets out to do what? To destroy that opposition. He may infiltrate the opposition, planting his malls in them, and seek to destroy them from within. Obviously, such moves need to be traced. Now, listen to that first. This is the opposition you're expecting to unite and have one of their flag bearers to be the leader, who might end up to be one of the malls that were planted. Let me give you a case scenario in Kenya now. Let's be practical. In Kenya today, the long-standing opposition leader died. His party decided to elect the new party leader. You know the power the party leaders hold. The party leaders then become the leaders of the party that goes for negotiations in case of alliance and coalitions. Now, when the party leader died, they decided to pick, and it's believed the government, the president was involved, to pick the brother of the party leader to be the new party leader. Yes, yes. Now, this brother of Raila Odinga was not in the internal party structure in any leadership. Instead of picking any of the deputy party leaders to be the party leader, they pick somebody from outside as much as in the family of Raila Odinga. That has caused division within the opposition party. Today, there are two factions of the opposition party. Now, that is already confusion. There's one branch led by that brother of Raila Odinga who are saying they are working with the government because Raila Odinga left them in government. There's another branch that are saying they're not working with government. With them, they want to oppose the government. Same opposition. Now, there's another group calling themselves the United Opposition, United. This group has the former vice president, the immediate former vice president, the immediate or the former Minister of Internal Security, the former Minister of Defense, and so many formers aligned, saying the United Opposition who want to oust the president. All those were product of the system. Now tell me, each of them have their own political party. That's what their principles, each of them. If the discussion is to be held on a table, they are probably the people who are going to sit on that table to discuss. Now, how will they agree to choose one of them? And if they choose one of them, will that be a coalition that the citizens can appreciate and agree with? Are they ready to share their party political leadership and choose somebody independent from any citizen and they say all of us back it? Because here, when they're on the table, somebody will say, my party is the biggest. My party is this tribe. I'm this tribe. Let's balance this tribe and all this. So that is the confusion, Sawindo, that you're forgetting that is possible to happen. So that's what I wanted also to raise with you. For example, you talk about my case. I am not experiencing any of the former presidential whatever process. My issue is very simple in trying to at least reform the material condition of the people, the basics. Because I don't believe that 60 years down the line, we are talking of expressway international airports and people are talking of food, water, and they don't have it. Now, how do you think that other people who are farmers also think the same way I'm thinking, that they are also concerned with the food? As much as they can speak, yes, it's food we want for the people. Do you really think that they want food for the people while they have been in that government all those years and they never worked for it? Now, what will be the basis for me to start having alliance with them, as much as that alliance is very necessary? Let me hear, first of all, what Brother Coco thinks. Or do you want to raise a point that Brother Coco can also respond?
Yeah, I know Brother Coco will respond together. What I'm saying is, I was tempted to want to say that forming an alliance of opposition parties will not yield the results, because all parties as they get formed, not all, many or most are staged. either by the government or by other powers. And their instructions are to make sure that the despot remains in power, most of them. Unlike you or unlike me, who has seen these things and think or realize that all in control. So even if they unite, there will be those elements in between, like you have said, that will make sure that this opposition fragments. So seriously, the basis of your principles, you convince all the masses and they rally behind you and you take out the despot. Thank you.
Thank you. Brother Kongo, go ahead.
Greetings, comrades. Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. What Dr. Haiti is doing here is he's talking about the presidential election. He's only focused on a system of presidential election. But as you know, that is not the only system in play. There are also parliamentary elections. So let's take the case of South Africa, for instance. In South Africa, in the past elections in 2024, there were 70 parties that were registered. 70. And if we were to look for an alliance against the ruling party, which was then the ANC, then it means all of those 69, or they say 68 or 60, have to come together and form an alliance. And according to him, what he's saying is the leader of that alliance has to be someone who all the members in an alliance come together and agree that he should be their leader. And in the case of South Africa, that will only have happened through a coalition of parties. Once they had got enough majority, but I think in running that election, they should have notified the Electoral Commission that they are all running as an alliance. And once that alliance had then won, they will come together and form a party, a unity government. And in that case, whoever is elected as the leader cannot be one of the leaders. What they are saying here is look within those parties, within all of those alliances, for someone who is not leading any of those parties, someone who can bring all of you guys together, a unifying someone. Okay? In a presidential election, it's a straightforward case, because in that case, then you all agree. It has happened in several cases where some of the presidential aspirants loses, they can endorse someone. It's a similar situation. They endorse another leader for their followers to say, okay, now that I have lost the elections, you can follow X or you can follow Y. It's in a presidential election, but in a parliamentary system, it's a lot more complicated. But I think it happened in Gauteng province, where the EFF and another party actually endorsed the DA, the Democratic Alliance, which in the end won, what did not win. They became a partner, a junior partner to the ANC in the government of national unity, which we have in South Africa at the moment. So this, what he's talking about, is just in the presidential election, when you are trying to get rid of a despot who doesn't want to go, but he's not taking into account the different systems that are at play. So let's take Zimbabwe, not Zimbabwe, Uganda. Uganda, Museveni has been in power for a while, and they follow both a parliamentary and a presidential system. In the past elections, what they did was they roughed up the opposition. So the opposition went there already roughed up. Besides being roughed up, there was also internet shutdown, lots and lots of things which he's not covering here in his proposal. They're not taken care of because he's just looking at where peace prevails, and the incumbent is not using any other machinations to steal elections. If it's a straightforward election, maybe, but there is a lot that has to go into talking to other members, diplomatic relations to bring an alliance forth. But I can't see that not happening. The only problem that I see here is that the Western system of democracy is divisive by design. It's meant to be divisive by design, and he is not addressing that. What he is doing, he's endorsing this divisive nature of elections, wanting us to keep patching and finding ways in which we can continue to defend the democratic system that continues. The original African system was more representative than that. And I think it's more or less what the Chinese are doing. Because with the Chinese, we know you from the local district where you are. We know your work there. You do a lot of work, and then we promote you to a provincial legislature. Then from a provincial legislature, we promote you to a national council. They all go through there because we elect people we trust. And it's a one-party system, the way you can see it. But in this system where they are multi-party, there is a lot of divisions. That's why in South Africa we see 70 now. I can't remember how many parties there were before the last elections. They were lower than 70. But that figure has now increased. Everyone wants in. Everyone thinks they can be a president. That is a problem with us as Africans. We don't know how to form coalitions. And I think this is what he is trying to say. Look for coalitions, look for alliances, learn to work together against the despot. If you think there's someone in power who you don't want, then get rid of him. Even if you are differing in your ideologies or anything else, come together just to get rid of that despot in power. I hope that's useful.
Thank you, Brother Coco. It's exactly our time, but I'll give each member maybe a minute to share anything as we wind up. A minute each. Anybody want to go first? A minute per person.
Yep. I was going to say that our choice of leader came about because the young guy Chidima was the one who was fighting the current the president then. Because remember, he was his vice president. Because they fell out, then he decided, I'm going to run for election to defeat him. But obviously, he didn't have enough people to actually do that. That's when he teams up with the opposition. So the opposition convinced him to join them. So it's two people fighting the current, going to court for this and that, there was an issue about TPEX. That's what kicked it off. One of the papers was found with TPEX, so they've rigged. So anyway, then they convinced him again. He was the main campaigner. So people are rallying behind them, thinking the young guy is the one who is going to become the president. And we were all convinced that amongst the alliance, he is the one who is going to become the president. But then somehow, somewhere, they convinced him to say, no, give it to Chakwera first, and then you'll be second. Give it to Chakwera because he's older than, you know, that African thing, oh, allow the elder first, and then you young one, you come next. That's how he became the leader. And everything went wrong from then on. Thank you.
So thank you. Anybody else? Sawindo, a minute.
For so long as opposition parties are formed on the behest of government, we have got an uphill battle to fight. You see, opposition has been there in most of the case.
Anybody else who want to share also their final
Has
thought?
been
I know
there
you are asking a
for
question
more
of the
than 3
final
decades.
I think Brother Van Hook was still talking. Are you done?
I realized he was still talking, but he was either going off and on. Brother Window, are you done? No, Dunik.
It's fine. You can pass. It's fine. You can pass.
No, Sawindok, I could hear you, then sometimes I don't hear you for even 20 seconds, 30 seconds, then you come back. So when I was interjecting, I didn't know you were still speaking. But I know you raised a very important question.
So is there anyone else, or can I come in?
If there's anyone else before Brother Coco, please come in. Then Brother Coco will close it for us.
Brother Philip, Brother Ifo,
Brother Coco.
that this chap. Okay.
Close, Brother Coco.
Thank you, comrades. Let's not forget where we are in the group we are in, conscientism, philosophy, and ideology for decolonization. Our aim is to unite Africa. We are only reading Dr. Aite's book because he is primarily looking at the dictators who have taken or stolen the unity of the African people or the governance of the African people. So we shouldn't just focus primarily on the Bantu stance that they created after political independence. It's more of seeing how some of these strategies can work towards a greater goal of African unity. And I think I would like to remind all of you as Africans that you are brothers and sisters. We start from there, but we split, we fragmented. Why did we fragment? That is a question we have to ask ourselves. And we fragmented again. Sister Chisomo just raised one of those issues of someone who is elderly, who is older. It was mostly the oldest heir, the son in the family, who will take the lion's share of the family thing. And then the younger ones will have to fend for themselves somewhere. That is how we spread the Bantu, for instance. But now is the time to reverse that. It's the time we learn how to work together. We need to learn to build those alliances. We need to remember that first and foremost, we are blood. And if we don't unite, then that is a problem we are seeing happening everywhere in the world. We are seeing it happening in Iran, where they are using Israel to destabilize the whole region. The whole region is going to be the greater Israel soon. Is going to be the other Israel because they are working together with the Americans, but we are not. So it's a matter of us aligning, not just on a national level, but we need to align more on a continental level as Africans. One blood. Thank you very much.
Brother Coco, you done?
I'm done, comrade. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, comrades. There are a few things you are learning here. To some of us, it's very practical. As I said, majority of us don't believe that there can be any change of a despot through the ballot. And I'll tell you, for example, all that Dr. Eti is saying and listing here, that opening the I don't know what, clearing the electoral process, ensuring there's a fair whatever of voting, no intimidation, all that what he's saying never happens anywhere. That the ballot papers arrive on time or polling station. The ballot boxes arrive when the government want. There should not be heavy security. They decide to put it where they want. The campaign. So all these things that he's trying to say here are only ideal. But we know they're not any practical reality anywhere. That the ballot, all these things. So you see, but it's very important that he's saying that for that electoral, for you to win on the electoral ballot, this must happen. Now, the fact that this does not happen, it means you cannot win on the electoral ballot. That's the first thing we need to know. Just precisely, you see? And this is the underlining message here. If all this, what you're saying here, cannot happen, as he's listing, that for that to happen, there must, this is say, in short, the following rules must be agreed before the election. And there's no day they will be agreed. And even if they agreed, there's no day they will be implemented. And this is the backbone of winning an electoral process. This is the backbone of defeating a dictator via ballot. Now we know that this cannot happen, which tells you then it is impossible, almost impossible, to win a dictator on a ballot. That's the first thing I want us to point out clearly. You see? Now, all these other things he's saying is good, trying to bring the oppositions together. And also one thing you need to learn, it is also very impossible in a country whereby also some of the opposition have also been implanted by the government for you to unite all of them into one. Because they also have their own intentions. So it's also even almost hard for the entire united opposition to come up against one. Because as I'm telling you, there are many people who are either planted by the same government and all those things happen. So in general, whatever Dr. Eti is saying is the ideal thing to happen. But in reality, in African context and many things you've gone through, those that he said, that things that he's trying to say, those things he's trying to say here, is very hard to happen. They might happen once, like what Sister Chisomi is saying happened in Malawi some times back. But even agreeing that whoever come to power will go for one term, you know, that thing is also almost very hard if some people are even removing the so-called term limits. So those are a few things I wanted us to point out as when we are winding this section, as we'll be looking at the next reading on the reversals in revolution. But as we have agreed, our next Monday will be discussing about, looking at a bit the Burkina Faso contract signed by the US in terms of the medical thing. And we are saying we are going to look at the implication, the content, the implication on the Sahel, the implication on the entire continent, the implication on the Black community and the solidarity, the implication on the East that was supporting Traore. All those angles need to be presented so that you can have a robust conversation. Then from there, the other week that follows, you can go back and pick up from here. So, comrades, I want to thank you for your time. And I will look forward for us to meet next week when we discuss that Dr. Iti, the Burkina Faso issue. I'll try to circulate the posters in advance, and I'll try to request anybody who want to speak or present any angle of this. Whether somebody can say, okay, let me pick the implication of that signage to the African, the entire Black community solidarity. Somebody can say, okay, let me pick the element of the implication on that on the Russian or the Eastern support initially. Let me pick that on the implication of the Sahel. So each one of us can maybe decide to look at one angle, or one person can decide to look at the entire angle, as it says. So get in touch with me so that you can organize this properly. Now, with that, comrades, let's bring this to an end and let's meet again on that coming Monday. Bye-bye for now.
Good night.